Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Arrow Season 3, Episode 10, Left Behind. And this episode I was definitely very much looking forward to because I knew it was going to be different than any other episode of Arrow so far because it was the first episode where Oliver was not even in it. And I was interested in seeing how the team would be without, Oliver and the Arrow and how they would survive without him. And how was this episode? Very interesting, actually. It was very interesting to see the team without, Arrow, how they survived without him, what they did in the meantime. And I really love this episode. And I thought this was a very good episode. Definitely, it's not as good as the finale. Obviously, the finale had to be, the mid-season finale had to be like the best episode of the entire show. And really, the whole thing with them killing off Oliver, it's really paid off in this episode because things that happened in this episode were just awesome to watch. And I love that we start off right away where, we see right away that Oliver's getting killed because, of course, Oliver is dead now, so we're not going to get the whole narration, which I actually like seeing because it was very realistic and it was very well done. They didn't have the narration in there. I think it made the show a little bit more dark, and this is probably the darkest Arrow has gone, was tonight's episode. Probably the darkest they've gone. I mean, they went extremely dark, but this episode was just pure darkness. There was no hope or anything. And basically, we see right away that they're being, basically a group of suspects are being chased by Detective Lance and his department, and the Arrow's nowhere to be found. So because of this, Roy has shown up on the motorcycle that Oliver used, and Diggle has taken his Green Arrow costume. He is now in the Green Arrow, and it was cool to see Diggle take on that position. I was thinking that we'd see Roy take on that position, but I like seeing Diggle work with him because honestly, Diggle is Oliver's best friend. So obviously he's going to take on his role. He's going to do that for Oliver. And it was cool to see that, definitely. And of course, it's always awesome to see Roy be Arsenal. And one of the things I love about this episode is that a lot of people complain that Arsenal did not have a lot to do in the first half of the season. And he had so much to do this episode, which I love seeing. So basically, it seems like they're getting along without him, and it seems like things are going well, honestly. They managed to catch one criminal, the second getting away, and Felicity and the team have been taking on all of the streets of saving the city, and though it's only been 3 days, Roy and Diggle are pretty concerned. I mean, they have a reason to be concerned. They're concerned that Oliver's not coming back. They're concerned that this is going to stick around, this is going to be a permanent thing. They are starting to get very concerned. They pretty much think that something bad happened to him. But Felicity doesn't want to accept anything. She wants to believe that he went away and that he's coming back. And I like that Felicity is the one in denial here. I definitely really enjoyed seeing that. And then we got to a flashback, of course, because you actually have to talk about the flashbacks in this episode. Because we see Mazeo and Oliver, because plus the ending of the episode, you definitely have to talk about the flashbacks in this episode. I thought the flashbacks in the episode were pretty awesome, honestly. I really liked the flashbacks in this episode. So we see Mazeo and Oliver. They're under they're still under Amanda's control. The two are continuing on the quest for Chin Nawai. Tatsu has been captured. China White has been captured, and Mazeo is becoming wary of her orders and ignorance to his wife's capture. And Ray, so basically that's what's going on there. And Ray, meanwhile, is busy designing a new armor as he's been introduced as the future Adam. And they seem to be working closely on the project, and she finally begins telling him that maybe he should rethink what he's trying to do. Because she doesn't think it's a good idea what he's doing, and she seems to care a lot about him. And, definitely it's making me think that maybe she's having a change of heart, because we know in the finale she kind of turned him down, actually. She didn't really want anything to do with him. She told him that she doesn't really want a relationship right now, and it kind of made me think that I think the two of them might get back together. These two could definitely get together. Would I want to see them together? Yes, because Oliver is nowhere to be found right now, and I want Oliver and Felicity to happen, but I want them to do it sporadically. I don't just want them to do it out of nowhere. I want it to happen in a slow way. They need to do it in slow progression, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So Laurel, meanwhile, is now working with Detective Lance, and they seem to be making a big stride in keeping the criminals off the street, and she seems to have her head on straight, and it's doing pretty awesome in the court. I really love those scenes with Laurel in the courtroom. Really shows how far her character has come. That's one of the things this episode definitely shows, how far all the characters have come. A year or two ago, they would be lost without Oliver. Lost without him. Not knowing what to do, but really when you think about it, Oliver's taught them all they need to know. So they really do know what they're doing, and I like seeing that. Definitely I enjoyed seeing that. So Felicity is still ignoring the possibility that Oliver could be gone, and Diggle and Roy are taking notice. They're telling her, look, we don't want to scare you or anything, but he could be gone. I mean, I like that they're thinking this. I like that they're not just like, oh, he's dead. I mean, I thought they were going to know he's dead, but if you think about it, they wouldn't know because they weren't part of the fight. No one can call them or anything. Ra's al Ghul's not going to call him up and be like, hey, I just killed Oliver. No, he's not going to do that. So I like seeing that they're kind of in denial about what's going on. And basically, I like seeing Felicity kind of in denial about it because, of course, the last few words that Oliver said to her, and it really makes sense why Felicity doesn't want to believe it, the last few words that Oliver said to her was that he loved her and he really cares about her and he's doing all this for her. So clearly she really does care about it. Clearly she doesn't want to believe any of this, and that wasn't enough for her. That that was basically his final goodbye to her, and it that really made her feel like basically she wants a conclusion and she doesn't want to feel like that was the last thing he said to her. But I think she needs to realize that he could be gone. And I like seeing that about this episode. This episode dealt with that very, very well. I really enjoyed that. So basically, we then see that, Diggle and Felicity finally sit down to talk about Oliver, and though Diggle believes in Oliver, he says that he's preparing for the possibility that maybe this time Oliver may not be coming back, and he thinks that she needs to... I really like the friendship that these two are forming, definitely. That's one of the things this episode showed us, how far they've come as a team and how close they really are. This episode really showed that, and I really enjoyed seeing that. So we then see Oliver, who's laying motionless before being found by someone else. We don't know who it is, though. And I mean, the thing is, we knew he was coming back. Now, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I like this, but then I'm thinking, you know what? I like that they're doing this, because here's what I'm thinking they're going to do. Oliver's going to be back, but they're not going to know. They're not going to know, and they're going to be forced to basically do this on their own. That's what it seems like is going to be happening here. That's what it seems like they're going to be doing, and if that's what they're doing, then I actually think it could be very good, if that could be really cool, what they're doing. I definitely actually really enjoy that, and one of the reasons I enjoy that is because of what they're doing with this, basically, because I think what they're doing is that the team is going to be completely unaware that Oliver is back, and if that's what they're doing, that could be very cool, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think that could be very interesting, and I want to see if they do that. So... basically, the crooks that got away are being dealt with by Brick, their leader, who is our new villain on the show, who is actually played by the guy that plays Gareth on Gallivant, he's awesome. He's awesome on that show, and he's awesome on this, too. He's an awesome villain, and I really like the Vinnie Jones. He's a very good actor, and he's really impressing me. I definitely love seeing him on this show. So I was happy to see that he's doing successful, because I like seeing the actors on Gallivant. I think they're all very talented. It was cool to see Vinnie Jones on the show. And he's doing some pretty bad damage, definitely. Now, Laurel over here is a lawyer who may be working for Brick, and it looks like she's alerted to a lead. And meanwhile, Thea and Malcom are trying even harder than before, but she's become distracted by Oliver's disappearance. She's worried about Oliver because he hasn't contacted her in 3 days, and she obviously is getting pretty worried. And, I mean, the biggest thing of this is that he did all this for her. That's why he did this, because he did this to protect her. Because he knew that his sister was the one that killed Sarah, and he did this to protect her, basically, in the trial by combat, and he lost. And that's what's so sad about it. And, honestly, Thea's a character that I sympathize really with the most. I love what they're doing with her character now, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So then we go to another flashback, and Mazeo and Oliver are preparing to finally get their mission complete, but Mazeo knows that Amanda's lying about getting Tatsu back, and the plan goes awry when Oliver loses his grip on a grapple, and that's obviously not good what happened, and that was very intense when that happened. That was definitely a very intense scene, and I really enjoyed that, though. I thought that was a very well-done scene. Really, really good stuff there. So, basically... after this happened, he hits it, leaving him hanging, and Diggle and Roy then head to the warehouse where Anton's body has been left. That's the name of him. His name is Anton, and basically there are a number of burner cell phones and some paperwork who have been burned, and they head to Verdant to bring Felicity the evidence, and when she heads towards the foundry, it's already open. They head down to look for Oliver, but it's Merlin who's waiting. And I love that Malcolm Merlyn was a part of this because it's making us like his character more. It's making us trust him more, and it's actually making him a much more interesting character. I really love the journey they're taking with Malcolm Merlyn. It's showing that he is kind of changing. He does care about them, and I honestly feel like Malcolm Merlyn, I know this is a weird theory, but I kind of feel like he's going to become part of Team Arrow. I really do. I mean, he's loyal to them. He's kind of their spy now. He kind of is. I mean, he knows everything that's going on in this episode. He kind of seemed like their spy to me. So he's telling them that if Oliver was alive, they had heard from him by now. Felicity's ignoring him and starts looking for patterns in the numbers from paperwork they got from the site. They think that he's lying. They don't want to listen to him. They think that he's just trying to scare them. And Roy and Diggle start to try to convince her to accept that Oliver is dead. But she says even if he is, all they can do is push on. And I like she says that because really, even if he is dead, they have no time to grieve. There's crime going on. They need to do something about it. And I like that Felicity said that. I like that it's not like, they have time to grieve because they really don't have time to grieve. So I like seeing that in this episode as well. So Laurel comes with an ID on Anton's body, and they tell her that Oliver is missing and possibly dead, but she won't believe it since it came from Malcolm Merlyn. She says, do you really believe what he's saying? And I like that Laurel kind of tells them this because, think about it, why would you ever believe what Malcolm Merlyn is saying? But of course, he's actually telling the truth here. And I like that they were kind of, they didn't think he was telling the truth. I like seeing that because I think it's really the first time that Malcolm Merlyn, really all this season, Malcolm Merlyn has been completely honest with them and has not really lied to them about anything except what was going on with Thea. That's the only thing he lied to them about, and now he's kind of redeeming himself, and I really like that about Malcolm Merlyn, definitely. And I like that Laurel doesn't want to believe him because it makes sense why. So back in Hong Kong, Oliver kicks his way into the window and into a lab where he steals a chemical or drug of some kind. There's an army of men with machine guns there, though, and the two are pinned down. So Malcolm goes to the site of the duel and finds Ra's sword, and he brings it back to the foundry, telling them that it's Ra's custom to leave the instrument of death behind after killing someone, and that's why this episode was called Left Behind, because you leave back the, I think it was also called Left Behind because Oliver left all of them behind. So he's insisting that Oliver's dead and promises that he didn't mean for Oliver to die, since that means the warrant on his own head is still out there. And I really liked that he said that to them. He's not the one because he's not the one responsible for Oliver's death. And they're telling him that he's the one responsible. And in some ways, yeah, he kind of is. But in many ways, no, he's not either. He's not really the one responsible. But in some ways, he is as well. And I like that he said, you know what, if you guys think that, I will take the credit for that. And I really like the way they're writing his character. I mean, he's becoming a much more likable character. And I'm actually really enjoying Malcolm Merlyn's character. And I gotta say, if they keep writing him like this, I definitely feel like he's gonna change into a very, very good character. Which I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. So Felicity is checking on the blood on the blade, and she does not want to believe this. And I love this scene of Felicity. She's just studying the blade, and that confirms that it's Oliver's. And she's devastated, leaves her work, saying she's glad they know now. She's happy that now they know that he's dead. But I think Felicity is just she's obviously crushed by this. She's kind of holding it back, and I really like that she just said, you know what, at least we know he's dead. So I really enjoyed that. So back in Hong Kong, Argus agents come to take out China White's men, creating a war zone. Oliver flees to get the Alpha, which they've stolen, so they can just justify chasing after China White and the Omega out of there. And as they're leaving, Oliver has the opportunity to kill one of White's men, but doesn't. So at Verdant, Roy is sucking down alcohol, and Thea comes and asks if he's okay. And this scene was just so sad. I felt so bad for Thea in this scene. And I felt so bad for everyone in this scene. This scene was amazing. This was one of my favorite scenes of the episode, definitely. I really enjoyed it. It's the first time Roy and Thea have seen each other in a while, and you really see that they're in a place now where I feel like they could get back together. They really are. The terms that they are on now, I feel like they are in a place where they're going to get back together. Do I want them to get back together? No, I don't want them to get back together right now. And I like that right now it's all about them sort of just like grieving over Oliver. He tells her that he got bad news about a friend. She asks who, and he redirects. And I like that he doesn't tell her who it is, asking her what's on her mind. And she says because she's so concerned about Oliver, she wants him to have the arrow look for Oliver. And that was huge when she said that. I was very surprised that she, you gotta feel bad for her because she has no idea that Oliver is the arrow. And I definitely feel like it kind of makes me think that by the end of the season, Thea will know. Because Thea is the only person that does not know. And she needs to know because she's the one that's just doesn't know anything, and she's completely not in, she's completely in the dark about that. So they really need to tell her that he is the Arrow, and I definitely feel like at some point this season she's gonna find out, because she needs to find out. She needs to find out. The only way they can break the death is if she finds out. And but the problem is, if they tell her and then Oliver comes back, she's probably gonna be pretty pissed at him, definitely, because she's probably going to be. So he heads into the foundry to tell Diggle what just happened. He's looking over the brick case, and Roy objects, saying that they shouldn't be doing this if Oliver's gone. And I like that Roy said this, because I'm kind of like, they're not even like, mourning over his death. And I like that Roy said that, because really it kind of seems disrespectful, Oliver. But the thing is, they're kind of honoring him. And Diggle realized that the papers they found were filled with case numbers, people who are awaiting trial for assault, murder, and attempted murder. The thing with what Roy said, though, is that they don't have time to grieve, as I said. They don't have time to grieve. They don't have time to do any of this. They need to accept that he's dead, and he would want them to do this. He would want them to honor his memory. That's how they can honor his memory. They need to honor his memory in any way they can, and the only way they can do that is to do things like this, which Oliver would have wanted them to do, and I thought that was very well done. So upstairs at Palmer, Felicity tearfully tells Ray that his suit won't work, and this scene was just amazing. This honestly was probably my favorite scene between Felicity and Ray so far. Basically, she's telling me that it won't bring his fiance back, and he's working out her she's working out her Oliver issues on him, and he gets sharp with her. And I like that she was upset about this, because basically she's comforting him. Basically, she's kind of venting to him, and he's telling her that she isn't allowed to invoke Anna with him. She keeps crying and leaves. Her phone rings and it's Team Arrow. It's kind of her only moment to grieve, really. It's her only moment, because then right away Team Arrow calls and they figure out what he wants to steal or destroy evidence from cases being prosecuted. Felicity says she'll be right there. A truck pulls up to the evidence warehouse. It's an official vehicle. Brick knocks out the cops and hijacks it. They steal boxes of evidence but find themselves in combat with Arsenal and Diggle. Lance leads the police to a warehouse. Diggle runs out of ammunition, and Brick kicks a gun to him, offers him the same deal he gave Anton, take him down and live, and then, basically, Roy shoots him in the head, but it doesn't make a difference. Brick keeps coming. The two fight while the police end up in a gunfight while Brick's men are outside. Arsenal is pinned down, calls to Felicity for help while Brick starts beating on Diggle. And before he can finish the job, though, Arsenal shoots him with an arrow, taking him out momentarily. Brick gets away in the stolen truck, and I like that he's not gone in this episode, because now we actually have a recurring villain. We had Ra's al Ghul, but we really didn't have a recurring villain, because as I said, this is not really a villain season. This is a season about the characters and their emotion. That's really what the season's been about. So, I really like that he is still in the show after this episode. So Felicity's still jarred about losing Oliver, manipulated things remotely to get Brick out of there to save Diggle and Roy. And when they head back to the foundry and question her on it, she says she's done with the team. And that was huge when she said that. She's done working with the team, and I definitely feel like she's coming back, but it makes sense why she said she's done, because she cares about Oliver that much, and she doesn't want to stay there if she feels like, Oliver's gone, and it's really affected her, and I like seeing that. I love that she told him, look, I'm done, and she's coming back, but it's going to be really interesting to see Felicity kind of on her own. It's going to be really cool to see that this season. I'm looking forward to that for this half of the season. So at a building in a snowy ravine, Mazeo knocks on the door. It's answered, and Mazeo tells the person at the door that Oliver, whose body he has carried there, needs their help. And we find out that the guy was Mazeo. I pretty much predicted it was. I didn't think of Mazeo, but I like that the flashbacks connected, because I always love when the flashbacks connect to the main storyline. That was awesome to see. So Felicity goes to work, apologizes to Ray, saying that she lost a friend, that this is the second in 3 months, and she tells him that he's lost too many people. And if he wants to go out there and commit suicide, she can't stop him. He's at the point where he wants to commit suicide. And that was huge when he said that. She can't stop him, but she won't help him. And honestly, I didn't know if he was going to go through with it, but there was a point where I kind of felt like he was going to go through with it. He doesn't, though. So now Laurel comes to the foundry, where she reveals the judge sent almost everyone they've taken in over the last 8 months free. Diggle tells Laurel that Oliver isn't coming back, and she asks Diggle if he is. He says he doesn't know. He blames himself for not being able to protect Oliver. Laurel hugs him after Diggle walks out. Laurel finds her sister's gear on a table, and when she saw that, I'm like, Black Canary time, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with that. Thea comes home to find Malcom waiting for her. He hasn't heard anything about Oliver. He tells her that they need to leave Starling and never return. And basically, this is his way of him never telling her. But he needs to tell her. He needs to tell her what's going on, because I feel like he's just not going to tell her. I feel like he's going to avoid it and, like, not going to have her think about it. They're going to leave Starling so that way she doesn't think about it constantly. The thing is, though, she's going to question about it. And even if he doesn't want her to, she's going to question him. I understand he wants to be a good father to her, and I like that. I like seeing the Malcolm Merlin, that's the thing I like about his character. As I said, they're making him much more likable this season. He wants to be a good father to Thea. He wants to be a good ally to Team Arrow, but he knows that Thea is his main priority right now, and he wants her to not be so obsessed with this, and he wants her to train better. And I understand he wants that, but she is not going to get over Oliver that easily. This is her brother we're talking about, and she cares about him endlessly, so he needs to understand that. So, I understand what he's trying to do, but it's not going to work. So Brick has lined up an army of enforcers that he got out of jail. He still got their evidence and tells them that they can work for him and take over the city, or they can resist and he'll get the evidence back. And basically, they're going to be the villains now. So, as Fisher's leaving that meeting, Laurel is now dressed as a Black Canary, and this scene was just awesome. She disorients him with the sonic device and then beats him with her staff. And Laurel is going after Brick and his army, and it looks like it's going to get pretty bad. It looks like she's going to do what Oliver did, but the thing with Black Canary is that she's going to kill people. She's going to hurt them. She's going to abuse them. She's going to torture them. She probably will even kill them. I mean, she's wanted to do this. We know that she was going this way. We knew she was going this way, and I gotta say, I love seeing her as a Black Canary. This is awesome to watch. I love seeing Laurel in this position, and it's so awesome for Laurel. It's such a good character change, and I love that about her character this season. So in the flashback, Amanda berates Oliver for hesitating and not killing China White's men. When she leaves, Mazeo says he knows that Oliver didn't hesitate but chose not to kill him. Oliver reveals that he placed a tracker on the men so they can find Tatsu using it, and Mazeo says he will always be in Oliver's debt. And at the house where Mazeo had taken Oliver's body, Oliver wakes up and Oliver's alive because Tatsu just nursed him back to life, and that's how the episode ends. Now, how do I feel about Oliver being brought back to life? I'm fine with it, because here's what I think is going to happen now, is that Oliver's going to be alive, and no one else is going to realize it. They're going to get him to train again, get him, health and nursed and nourish him and things like that, but they're not going to realize that he's alive. And if that's where they're going, that's going to be really cool to see. And now I like where everyone's gone now, because now they are in deep shit now, because Felicity's left them, so who's going to give them the information? I mean, nobody knows how to work on computers faster than Felicity. She said it herself in one of the episodes that that's what she can do, that's her thing, and that she's always been able to do that. She's always been able to crack codes and find things like that. So who's going to find out all this information for them? They don't have anyone. So now I feel like Ray Palmer is going to take over, possibly. I definitely see Ray Palmer becoming part of Team Arrow. Maybe he's going to convince Felicity to join Team Arrow. I could definitely see it happening. Now, Laurel. This is not going to end well for Laurel at all. Laurel as Black Canary, I love seeing her in this position, but this is not going to end well for her. She is going to end up in some serious shit. She needs to realize this. It's not going to end well for her, and I feel bad for her because she doesn't realize how bad this is going to end for her and how bad things are about to get, and I love seeing her in this, though, but she needs to realize that. Now, Malcom, he needs his healthy of the truth. I know he doesn't want to, but he needs to. Just like Laurel needs to tell, Detective Lance the truth. I don't think she's ever going to now. I mean, there's too much that's happened now, definitely. And also, I love seeing, Diggle and Roy working together. That's going to be really cool to see. Are they going to... Now, basically, they're the only ones left in Team Arrow. Diggle, Roy, and Laurel. And it seems like now they're going after Laurel to stop her from what she's doing. And I kind of feel like the only person that's going to stop Laurel is Oliver. And Oliver's not going to return till Laurel is at her deepest point. And I think Laurel is going to be even worse than she was in the first half of Season 2. However, she is going to be more likable because she's not just going to be doing drugs and things like that. She's actually going to be doing things that are likable and that we want her to do. We want her to take down these men. I love seeing Brick's character as well. He's such an awesome villain. I love that we actually have a recurring villain on this show now. It's going to be really awesome to see because now he wants to take over the city. And I think it's going to be awesome to watch. I can't wait to see what his mission is. It's going to be awesome to see, and I loved everything about this premiere, guys. This was by far my favorite premiere on the CW, my favorite mid-season premiere on the CW so far. Out of the originals, The Flash and Arrow, this one by far was the best. It was so cool to see see the Arrow team out of their element, working as a team without Oliver. It was cool to see that. I love seeing the flashbacks in this episode. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen with Oliver. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Absolutely loved it. Also, they need to tell Thea the truth. If Thea comes back to Starling City, which I know she will, they need to tell her the truth. Someone needs to tell her that Oliver is Arrow, because what she wants is never going to happen. She needs to realize that, and she's never going to realize that unless they tell her the truth. And that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for the season finale of American Horror Story Freak Show, which hopefully is satisfying, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.